looking now into the draft. The draft is coming up in what? It's in April, so 2 months?
Couple months now, yeah.
Yeah. Or 3 months, sorry. I don't... Wait, no, 2 months. Sorry, I don't have any... Outside of forgetting names, I also don't know how many months there are in the year or the order in which they come in. But there are 10 players that we should potentially look in drafting that we collectively made. And so we each picked 5 players. And going based off of our team needs, I think, and also just where the talent is in this draft. But Reese, why don't you go ahead and start us off here?
Yeah, one of them that I put out there, just been seeing the name. I think maybe I had the impression during the college football season that he'd be someone that might be going in the first round, but I think I've been seeing his name slide a little bit down. Don't know if he's the absolute perfect receiver for the Bears, but I think there could certainly be a connection that was developed with Fields, and that's Johan Dotson, wide receiver from Penn State. Brings some really crazy good speed. It really fits the Nagy mold of wide receivers. Just let's bring in a lot of real fast guys. He doesn't have crazy big size, which is probably my one big knock on him. He's only 5'11", but he does have, great athletic ability. So I think he'd be someone interested in bringing on.
Is that actually how you say his first name?
I mean, I don't know if it's Jahan. I don't know. I think it's Johan.
Yeah, I have no clue either. I always thought it was Jahan, but I could be completely wrong. I don't watch a lot of Penn State football, if I'm being completely honest. Most of which I've seen Johan Dotson or Johan Dotson, whatever his name is.
One of them.
Actually, I feel like we need to figure that out. So we took a couple of minutes to try to figure out how it's pronounced. We'll just call him Dotson for now. I'm sure someone in the YouTube or the podcast will let us know what his actual name is. But I agree. I like Dotson. I think he'd be a good wide receiver. He has a little bit of a big play ability, actually. He's not the fastest guy, but he has some big play ability to him, which I
like his shiftiness, He's got... Yeah. He can really take that, middle slant, that post route, make it work. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, certainly. I completely agree with that. My first guy, another wide receiver. This has been my guy. I hope we can get him in the third round. I think he probably goes late second, but I hope we can get him in the third round. That's George Pickens. I think he's going to be a number 1 wide receiver in this league someday. I like his attitude. I like his route running ability. I like how versatile he is. I think he's just going to be a really good wide receiver. Can play out the slot, can play out the outside. I cannot say. I am honestly a little bit surprised this man is not considered a first round pick.
I think I've only seen 1 or 2 mocks that have him going 31 or 32 in the first round. And I knew I had to leave him there for you. He's been your guy all along. Yeah. Love that pick. Love it. Yeah. Love it. I think we texted about it during the national championship game. The man is a monster.
He's crazy.
So
we need more guys with his attitude too. I feel like. I mean,
some swagger.
I hate to bring up you being a Michigan fan, but I'm sure you saw against Michigan when he completely just destroyed the DB in blocking. It might have been Dax Hill.
Yeah, I think it was Dax Hill.
He pointed to the sideline and then did that. I mean, it was crazy. It's a great highlight if you guys want to watch it. Just a really good wide receiver. Tall, too. That's the thing. Prototypical build. It's rarely do you see a guy that's a prototypical build, good route runner, decent hands, able to play all around the field, also played at the highest level against some really great competition and then not be widely considered. I just think it's a home run pick. But yeah, next guy.
Yeah. And almost what you said about the prototypical build and doing against some of the best competitions, a little bit of a preview for one of the other receivers that I have. I'm going to switch it to the other side of the football real quick. I'm going to go with Roger McCreary, cornerback out of Auburn. I think, second, third round, I think he'll be around and available at that time. Just doesn't quite have the same hype as some of the top cornerbacks do in the draft. But what I like about him, he can play man, he can play zone, does both efficiently, which the playing zone is going to be critical for this new defensive scheme. Has decent height, like the way he plays the ball. Is not a huge turnover monster, though. Kind of a little bit like Jalen Johnson. Doesn't produce a load of picks, but good on the pass coverage, discipline in coverage. And I think overall, you're drafting a cornerback too there, I think.
Yeah, certainly. I like McCreary as well. I've seen some mocks having up towards a higher second round, which I wouldn't be a huge fan of there. But if you can get him, later second round, early third, I think that's a great pick. And we definitely need a cornerback, man. We definitely need one. I'm also going DB. I also love this guy. Hits like crazy. Played on a pretty good defense considering the school. That's Jalen Cantillon from Arkansas. Huge fan of Jalen Cantillon. I think he would do a really good job being what we need with Eddie Jackson, doing all the dirty work, cleaning up. I think he's got that aggressiveness to edge. I think that the coaching staff defensively, I think Eberflus would love him. And I could just see him being really good. He's a good safety. I think he's going to be a strong safety in the NFL.
Yeah. And honestly, Arkansas got a lot of gamers on that team. Not on the defensive side of
Treylon Burks.
Treylon Burks.
Man, he's going to be good.
Yeah, exactly. And
do you think there's any chance he could fall out of the first round?
I don't think so.
I think he's wide receiver one for me personally. I just don't see any other guy that's better than him.
I do like Jamison Williams a lot, but that injury hurts. For sure. Yeah. That injury hurts. Jamison Williams, very good. And a couple, of course, the Ohio State wide receivers that are probably going to come off the board in the first round, where it was hard not to put someone like Olave on this list just because I think there's been so much hype for that possible connection.
We already have our small, fast guy. It's like all the wide receivers in this class are like small, fast guys like Darnell Mooney,
Except for my next player, man. Justin Ross. Wide receiver at Clemson.
Justin Ross, yeah.
You want to talk about the prototypical build. Someone that played really well in some big games in those college football playoff games.
5-star recruit.
For Clemson is certainly a bigger name. Almost kind of crazy that, we're talking about him probably being available after day one. If you would ask me
after day round, maybe even day 3.
And which is crazy because you would have asked me 2 years ago, I would have never seen it coming. I would have thought he would have been a first round draft pick all the way. There's a couple issues, but I think as far as build, I really want the Bears to get a receiver of that size, 6'4". It's got the build like Mike Williams, got the build like George Pickens.
Fast. He's pretty fast, good route runner. I think the major concern there is injuries. I think so, that's I'm willing to bet on it. With a talent like that, I'm willing to bet on it, truthfully. So, if he was our top wide receiver going into the year, I might be a little concerned. But getting him in the third round, home run.
Yeah, I think so.
Next guy I have actually defensive lineman. I think that we will. It's going to be interesting to see this transition because I think we will need to get another 3 technique defensive lineman or defensive tackle. And that's Devontae Wyatt out of Georgia. I'm a big fan of Wyatt. I think, Jordan Davis oftentimes gets a lot of the hype because he's just an absolute monster there. But Jordan Davis, truthfully, wouldn't even really fit what this team needs at that position that well because he's going to be a nose tackle on a 3-4 team, I think, or should be at least. But Devontae Wyatt, man, he has some really good finesse moves. He's got some power. I think he's really well rounded, and I've seen he is all across different boards. Truthfully, like some people are saying he might go in the first round. Some people are saying he might go all the way down in the 5th round. I think he's going to go more in the 3rd round potentially, maybe 2nd round. 2nd, 3rd round is where I view him. I think he's going to be good.
Yeah, I think from the 3rd round value onwards would be a very good value for him. If you get him a 3rd, 4th, and like you said, if there's a possibility to get him in the 5th, I think that's a home run pick at that position. And I really wanted to start to look over to the offensive line. My last 2 players, first one being Abraham Lucas, offensive tackle from Washington State or Wazoo. Just really kind of like the lateral movement. We talked about some of the Bears' offensive struggles with that. I think he's got some of the best work with his hands, and just overall upper body movement. Doesn't get twisted around too much. So I like the game that he brings. I'm not sure if he'd be able to slide over and be someone that could take over a left tackle responsibility or even be a full-time starter right off the rip at right tackle, but I think he's someone that you could at least build into that at some point.
Certainly. And I'm going to give you a wide receiver pick, but I also have an offensive line pick for my final one. Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati. I don't know how familiar a lot of people listening to this will be, but he's actually from the Chicago area. I think he's going to be a great slot receiver, truthfully. I think he is made for the slot. He is fast. He is twitchy. He's going to be really good, I think, in the NFL as a slot wide receiver, and we need one. I think we do need one. So
yeah, I forgot which suburb he was from.
I think Glen Ellen or Glen Bard or something.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Glen Ellen, I think, is right. And yeah, no, he has unbelievable skill. A lot of freak athletes on that Cincinnati team. I mean, no question, they were so good. But yeah, he's certainly one of them. I could see him. He's going to have, Scotty Miller type, but even better than that type skills.
Cooper, I think, obviously I don't project him to have the same career as Cooper Kupp because that would be insane, but he has a little bit of Cooper Kupp to him, And I don't say that lightly. There's a lot of people,
Renfro,
Yeah. There's actually that's probably even a better comparison. But there's a lot of people that will come out and they'll say, "Oh yeah, he's just to every slot receiver." They'll be like, "Yep, Cooper Kupp." Nah, not always, but this guy, he does have some shades of Cooper Kupp to him.
And my last player was Zach Tom, offensive tackle, and also played center at Wake Forest. I think. Just the fact that he's played kind of both inside and outside, kind of to do that, both of them very taxing positions. Center is a tough position to nail down along the offensive line, and then to also learn the skill set to play on the edge like that. I think it just shows versatility, and someone that, if you can scoop him up in the third or fourth round, I think is going to bring a great depth piece. And I think you work on him in camp and you find out which skill set you like best out of him, and plug him. He's got some good hand play. I think there's a little bit of limitation with him, but at the same time, I do think that he can develop into a starter at least one of those positions.
Absolutely. And I kind of cheated for my last one because I had two players. First one, Tyler Linderbaum, center out of Iowa.
Reach, but sure.
Listen, man, I would have said the same thing if I didn't just watch last year Creed Humphreys fall to the late second round. I thought there was no way in hell that in my opinion, Creed Humphreys is just as good of a center prospect as Tyler Linderbaum was. Teams in the NFL don't value center as high as a lot of other teams. I don't know if they'll fall at second round pick 7, but I would not be shocked in the slightest if Tyler Linderbaum is there at the top of the second round.
We'll see. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see that.
There's some other really good interior offensive linemen. Another one that I'm going to mention here is I kind of wanted to do one or the other because I think one of these guys will fall out. Zion Johnson, center guard, Boston College. Ryan Poles went to Boston College, has a lot of connections there, obviously. And Zion Johnson plays a lot of attitude. He is the type of offensive line Ryan Poles says he wants to bring in. Mean, aggressive. He's just good, man. He's really good, and I think having that versatility, center guard, I think he's going to be more likely a guard. I know teams want him at center, but I think he's going to be a really good guard. He's kind of like Tevin Jenkins, where you might want to make him a left tackle to justify the first round pick, but it's kind of hard to say. So I think one of those guys will be there at the top of the second round, and potentially even buy the pick. There's a lot of good interior offensive linemen in this draft. It's pretty deep. I was a little bummed out the kid that plays center at Notre Dame didn't come out because I thought that was going to be a perfect mid-round pick. But I have to say, I think that someone like Tyler Linderbaum or Zion Johnson will be there at the top of the second round.
Well, yeah, I think both of those would be good pickups, and obviously the Boston College connection is there, and they really need kind of just a mauler along the offensive line, just a little bit more of that attitude, and also someone that's athletic too. I really am about they need to be pulling guards. There needs to be movement along the offensive line. It can't just be this dead zone running scheme. Just has not been working for the team.
Yeah, and I don't think that will be the case anymore. I think that, again, you got to take that approach, in my opinion, of going out, signing a big-name left tackle, and then drafting a piece. And I think that will solve the issues significantly, truthfully. This interior offensive line is not good. And I think I was very impressed by Borum this year, and I think he could be a good guard as well. So I think by just getting more pieces, by being able to shift everyone back to their natural position, because we forget Borum was drafted to be a guard. Borum was drafted to be a guard. We had to play right tackle. Tevin Jenkins was originally a right tackle at Oklahoma State, and he went over to left tackle. Cody Whitehair, he played center for us. That's why I think he can do it. And I think his best year was at center. His best 2 years, arguably, were at center. And the one thing that I just hated about the last coaching staff, and particularly even Ryan Pace's drafting with offensive linemen, is his insistence on moving people out of their natural positions.
Yeah, that never made sense to me. I was cringing while you were just saying everything like that, you know.
Yeah,
the solution's pretty clear. You get a legitimate left tackle, and then you can move everyone back to where they should be. Yeah,
seriously, it's so simple. It's like it makes sense.
Right.
And good for Charles Leno Jr. He's actually done pretty well with the Washington Commanders now.
Let's go.
Yeah, it sounds so goofy. It's embarrassing. But anyways, I think that, again, I think even us, Reese, we were like, okay, maybe it wasn't the best idea to cut both of your tackles in the same offseason. I'm pretty sure we criticized the cutting of Charles Leno Jr. We were all on board with, Bobby Massey. I always forget his name. We were all on board with that. We're like, yeah, that makes sense. But then when they cut Charles Leno Jr., we're like, maybe a little, maybe a little premature. You don't want to just like send two guys out and bring two new guys in. Ideally you want to have like send one guy out, bring two guys in or three guys in, and be able to let them win their jobs and not risk your young quarterback running for his life and getting injured like Justin Fields did all year. But it is what it is, and ultimately I think that we'll right the ship this year. I would not be surprised if we see a huge step up from the offensive line. Wide receiver, don't know how good we're going to be there, but I think as far as the offensive line goes, we're going to really spend a lot of resources to fix that, because that's been the issue since 2019.
Yeah.
2019 season, offensive line was terrible. 2020 season, offensive line was terrible. 2021 season, offensive line was garbage.
Go figure, man.
Go figure. And that might have been actually the reason why Ryan Pace got fired, if anything.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise to me that Matt Nagy's best year, we had a top 10 unit at offensive line. But, it is what it is.